Bon après-midi. Je pense que l'équipe de traduction est en place. Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Est-ce que nous faisons ce petit test? Mr. President, are you hearing me? Is that correct? Wonderful. Bonne fin d'après-midi, chers amis. Évidemment, nous sommes au regret de commencer cette rencontre de presse avec plus d'une heure de retard, mais vous comprendrez la densité de l'ordre du jour du comité exécutif de ce jour. C'est la preuve que nos illustres membres ont eu du pain. Tout?
Okay, they boost it now.
Is that good now, Mr. President? Good. Donc, on s'excuse pour ce retard, Monsieur le Président, et tous nos membres qui ont eu un après-midi très chargé. Et nous allons tout à l'heure savoir si le résultat est à la hauteur du temps qu'ils ont consacré. Merci d'avoir été patients, vous êtes très nombreux. Je vais une fois de plus vous remercier pour votre présence et avec la permission de Monsieur le Président et de tous ceux qui sont en direct, vous êtes très nombreux. Merci à nouveau. Monsieur le Président, please, I would like to give you the floor for your first remark. Et certainement, il vous dira quelques mots sur les grandes conclusions de ce comité exécutif et d'autres informations. Demain, c'est la grande finale, la Champions League, la Ligue des champions africaine, un grand rendez-vous pour nous. Et j'imagine que vous avez aussi quelques questions là-dessus. Juste après, nous avons un match de foot. Donc, nous savons que vos questions seront précises et claires. Monsieur le Président, Mr. President, please, you have the floor for your first remark. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, mon frère Alex. Merci beaucoup, mon frère Baron. Just a few brief remarks. We had a very good meeting of the leadership, the top leadership of CAF, the executive committee, and I'm very honored that present today is the first vice president of CAF, my brother Augustine Senghor, second vice president of CAF, Ahmed Yahya, and our third vice president, Mr. Suleiman Waberi, and my brother from Cameroon, Seido, and Madame Kanizao. And we had this meeting with the top leadership of CAF. There's a very clear understanding that there's certain urgent steps that we have to take to deal with the finances. There are very important financial challenges in CAF, but there's also an equally determined focus. And I am confident that in the medium to long term, our objective of ensuring that CAF and ensuring that African football is globally competitive and self-sustaining, that we achieve those objectives. And we had the PricewaterhouseCoopers final report that was submitted today. And at the heart of that, the PricewaterhouseCoopers final investigation report is the reaffirmation and the re-emphasis of what the new leadership of CAF had outlined, which is to ensure that global best practices are implemented and adhered to at all levels of CAF in relation to auditing, governance, ethical, financial management, and administrative best practices. We need to ensure, as we said on several occasions, that African football is exciting for spectators. Of course, we've got an exciting game tomorrow, and I was locked up in meetings the whole day and informed of the instruction which I had issued about as soon as I became aware that Kaizer Chiefs, one of our most outstanding football clubs in South Africa, very proud history, and led by one of the the most outstanding football leaders on the African continent, Dr. Kaiser Motaung. And it's good that they qualified for CAF, the CAF Champions League final tomorrow. And there is nothing that would have excited me more than for the people in South Africa to watch the game. And, you know, CAF has an obligation to develop football throughout the continent, but football is a game of the poor. Football is a game worldwide, but particularly in Africa, of those who are marginalized, unemployed, and come from poor rural and urban communities. And that is part of our prime obligation. And I'm excited that there was this arrangement between SuperSport and as South African Broadcasting Corporation to ensure that they can watch the game. What is critical is, in my capacity as chairman of, or as president of CAF, my obligation is to football throughout Africa and football in every country in Africa. And in the context of the challenges and the competition that exists on the continent for TV rights, I'm confident that as we move forward, we will make sure that we allow those companies that are doing excellent work. SuperSport is doing very good work, and various others to compete, but also to make sure that our primary objective of developing football throughout the continent and making sure that all people on the continent, I said this last week in Benin, in particular the poor, have access to watching football live on TV. And I wish Al Ahly all of the very best, very proud history. And the president of Al Ahly and the players and the coach, who's South African, makes me very proud. And of course, I wish the best to Kaizer Chiefs, the players and the coach. And just to overemphasize that as part of, and I wish both clubs all of the very best, but to emphasize that as part of the financial challenges, because our clubs have to travel from different parts of the continent, the transport costs are very expensive. And it's even worse now, you can't get spectators coming to the stadium, so there's no money from the gate taking. And so we are applying our minds. These are some of the things that we're talking about as part of the long-term commitment to all of the football clubs in Africa, all of the football nations, the national teams in Africa, to say to them that we are aware of their challenges, and part of both financial, logistical, and also basic things like the stress to pay salaries. And we are committed to making sure that African players are competitively paid, but that's, you know, the clubs are doing a good job and they lead us in that regard. So the PricewaterhouseCoopers report is emphasizes our commitment to implement these fundamental changes to make sure that that CAF is an organization, a confederation, as well as the zones and the member associations that will partner with the private sector, because we do need this partnership. We need their financial resources to help us build infrastructure, youth academies for both boys and girls, and also to help us to make sure that the administration of football at club level, at national team level, as well as at CAF level, is globally competitive, and is something that we are proud of, all of us. Now, what are some of the other issues? Because and of course we spoke about the African Super League, which is something that's very exciting, and I'm excited that so many broadcasting companies have come to me and said, we want to be part of this African Super League. And CAF has a duty to all Africans. And at the heart of it is those countries where there are financial challenges. And what we are clear about is the benefits of the African Super League will be shared and it will extend to every single one of the 54 countries in Africa, not just those whose football teams or football clubs may be involved in the first instance. So my brother Yaya, the second vice president, who's also our chairman of the Inter Club, is leading us. He's doing very good work with his committee to further assess and advise me and advise CAF on the details of what we call an inclusive. And why we say it's inclusive is because every single country, every single one of the 54 countries in Africa is going to benefit and be part. Some of the money will go to them to help them develop football amongst the youth and to help the football administrators in those countries to run and to develop football for boys and girls. A few weeks ago, there was a meeting of the FIFA Congress, and the CAF delegation supported the decision of FIFA to conduct the study for this proposal was put forward by Saudi, and the study to investigate issues relating to having the World Cup taking place every 2 years. The highest body of CAF deemed it necessary to express its support, as we did at the Congress for that excellent resolution. But they felt that we should also, as the highest decision-making of a body of CAF, announce that we African football, taking into account the serious financial challenges and the lack of infrastructure and the lack of facilities for football on the continent, would most probably be the biggest beneficiary of a World Cup that takes place every 2 years. So the decision was to reaffirm our commitment to the decision that was taken and to indicate that having the Football World Cup every 2 years is something that will be of huge benefit to the world, but definitely more so to the developing world and Africa in particular. Women's football, Madame Kanizai is doing good work. We've got a deep commitment to women's football. We've got a deep commitment to developing youth academies and developing football at starting with football at schools level. And that's why a few months ago, we had this pilot project that we announced with our president from the DRC, President Felix Tshisekedi, who's also chairman of the African Union. And a few weeks thereafter, the Motsepe Foundation made a humble donation of $10 million towards schools football, because that is the foundation of the future of African football. Concerning broadcasting and TV rights, we are in discussions with, as I said, concerning the CAF Super League, but also to assess and evaluate various other channels and sources of revenue, whether it's TV rights, broadcasting rights, and various other partnerships with different companies in the private sector to generate income. My brother Veron made a very good presentation on the good work that's taking place at our headquarters in CAF, and there are challenges because he has to retain and the wonderful, some of the wonderful people that are employed at CAF, and we've announced the steps that were taken to make sure that that there's a process underway to employ further people, more people with the appropriate skills and expertise to make sure that we really recruit and employ the very best on the continent, because our capacity to make African football globally competitive and self-sustaining is influenced by our ability to have some of the best skills and expertise employed. Now, there's a note here about the prize money for tomorrow's competition. The winner gets $2.5 million, and I did announce over the last few months that we have to make the prize money for the competitions, make the prize money competitive and raise it significantly. That's one of the things that we're committed to. And it's a total prize money of US dollars, 12.5 million. But part of the future of promoting and developing African football is to make sure that our competitions really have attractive prize money. And I know that many of the clubs, when they win the prize money, they share it amongst the players and the management staff and all of those who are involved. I think it will be an appropriate stage to pause here and respond to whatever questions there may be. Is there anything I forgot? You want to add anything? Okay. And just to say, I want to thank you for the good work that you do as our General Secretary. I was at Wembley on Sunday to watch Italy play against England, and a few days before that I was in Miami at the CONCACAF conference, and part of the reasons why, and of course I attended the UEFA Congress a few months ago, is to look at some of the best confederations in the world and to see not just what we can learn from the excellent work that they are doing, but also to identify what are some of the steps we must take to make sure that African football is as attractive and as exciting as the best football federations are in the world. Merci beaucoup, and we will back to you, and we will take questions at the stage.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your remarks. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Vous êtes en ligne. Nous allons faire simple. Vous allez simplement vous signaler. Nous allons vous donner l'antenne pour poser vos questions. Et les questions de YouTube, malheureusement, on ne pourrait pas les prendre. On prend uniquement ceux qui sont les journalistes qui sont en ligne. Alors, je vois la première question, Omar Raibi. Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, allô?
Bonjour, bienvenue.
Bonsoir, Omar Raibi du site As-Sahifa marocain. Ma question, c'est pour le président Patrice Motsepe, en français. Vous, Monsieur le Président, vous avez été élu à Rabat. Aujourd'hui, des décisions importantes sur le sort du football africain sont au Maroc. Que représente le Maroc pour le président de la CAF et pour le football africain? Merci.
Merci, Omar.
Well, I must say that I thanked and many of the leaders of CAF in the meeting that we had a few hours ago. In fact, the meeting took a few hours. Thanked our brother Fouzi Lekja and the people of Morocco and His Majesty King Mohammed VI for continuing the partnerships and the good work that they are doing with many African nations in terms of developing football. And I must say, I'm always inspired and proud to be in the midst of the leaders of the 54 nations in Africa, because today was a meeting of the leadership of the highest decision-making body representing 28 countries on the continent at the highest level. And then tomorrow, it will be all of the leaders of the 54 countries in Africa, football leaders. And we are using football as a means to bring all of our people together on the continent, people from different countries, from different zones, different backgrounds, different languages, and to build a future we are talking about football, but we also recognize the intimate connection with football development and growth, as well as the economic and social development and growth of our people on the continent. And we've got fundamental duties in both instances. So going back to Morocco, I'm always very, very happy to be here and to express my gratitude for the contributions and the commitment over many years. Some of the good work was done even before I became president. And I'm excited and privileged that I can continue to make a humble contribution through football and unite, cooperate, and bring different countries, different nations together. Because when any country in Africa does well and competes at the global level, whether it's Senegal, Cameroon, Mauritania, Djibouti, Comoros, DRC, or any other country, Nigeria, Ghana, Botswana, Morocco, when they succeed, they don't only make the people of those countries proud, they make all of us, because they represent all of us. They make all of us very proud. So I'm always very happy and very excited to be in this beautiful country with very, very wonderful people and wonderful friends.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nous allons prendre deux questions. Monsieur Cephas Tendereza, vous allez commencer et juste après vous, nous allons donner la parole à Yao Ampofo Junior. Votre journal, votre pays et votre question. Cephas Tendereza, are you there? Cephas, est-ce qu'on continue la technique? Est-ce qu'on continue? Est-ce que Cephas est en ligne? Are you there, Cephas? No. Lassana Camara, est-ce que vous êtes là? Ouvrez le micro de Lassana Camara, s'il vous plaît. Lassana. Lassana?
Je suis là. Allô?
Oui, bonjour, bienvenue Lassana.
Bonjour, bonjour à tout le monde. Bonjour, Monsieur le Président.
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, je vous entends.
Rappelez votre site internet, Lassana, et on vous écoute.
Lassana Camara, originaire de la Mauritanie, panafricanfootball.com. Monsieur le Président, la Super Ligue européenne a été battue en brèche ici en Europe. Là, vous nous proposez une Super Ligue africaine. Avec quels ingrédients? En Afrique, on sait que le football est au bas niveau. Sur quels critères de clubs vont participer à cette Super Ligue européenne, africaine? Qu'est-ce que cette Super Ligue africaine va amener sur le continent en termes de retombées financières et de retombées marketing? Merci.
Merci, Lassana. Yao Ampofo, are you there? Two questions, Mr. President, and then, okay, thank you. Yao, open the microphone as Mr. Yao Ampofo Jr. Are you there? Good morning, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Mr. Mosepe if...
yeah, thank you.
Thinking about the African Super League, is it something that, you see, locally, I am from Ghana. Okay, so all I dream of is having a club like Asante Kotoko playing against El Ahly in Egypt. So bringing this African League concept, how do the matches be like? Because when you're talking about financially, LIN is in, let's say, in America, and then financially, Asante Kotoko is in another world. So comparing the two, how do you match up the two? So,
Thank you, Accra.
Very, very good questions. Asante Kotoko, wonderful team, proud history. Before I became president of CAF, they played against the team that's that we own, that the family owns, and Asante Kotoko has produced exceptional players. Now, remember, in Africa, you cannot and should not do anything that excludes our people. And you always remember our starting point from a football perspective is to focus on those. Football is for everybody, but we also have an obligation to make it accessible to the poor, particularly the poor and the unemployed and the marginalized. So this new CAF Super League will be grassroots driven. That's why we call it an inclusive CAF Super League. There will not be a Super League that is not grassroots driven. So my brother Yaya and the CAF committee, the interclub committee, is doing good work in formulating the details and in terms of the participation, the criteria, the rules, and various other requirements to make it successful. But what I can confidently say is that it will include every single country in Africa will be part of it, including those that may not have clubs that are participating. But there should be a mechanism that allows those who may not be able to do so now, but to compete and at some stage to become part of this exciting Super League. And we are very, there are certain principles that are very clear to us, and those principles will form the foundation of the Super League. As I said, the first principle is it is grassroots driven. The second is every single one of the 54 African countries are going to be part of it and will benefit. And the third thing is that third principle is it will definitely contribute towards the growth, improvement of this quality and the standard of African football. It will significantly uplift it. Some of the revenue, some of the resources, some of the financial resources that we anticipate will come from this competition will be used to develop football, assist with academies, and we will definitely benefit from the challenges in Europe. And I think the fact that the leadership of CAF is driving this, the football governing body in Africa, and every single one of the 54 countries are part of this process, it gives me great confidence. It will be inclusive and it will fulfill all of those principles and criteria that I've outlined.
Yes, le secrétaire général va apporter des éléments, d'autres éléments de réponse.
Je voudrais juste compléter la Sana, vous êtes là? La Sana?
Il vous écoute, il est en ligne. On a coupé le micro, mais il vous écoute.
Ok, d'accord. Vous avez parlé de retombées économiques. Il y a des retombées sociales très, très importantes. Aujourd'hui, nos jeunes talents qui vont jouer dans des deuxièmes divisions du Vietnam, de certains pays lointains, avec cette structure de Super League, on va pouvoir retenir ces joueurs-là. Donc, il y a une différence fondamentale avec, parce que vous avez tenté une comparaison avec ce qui s'est passé en Europe. En Europe, c'était décrié. Il y a un collègue qui a parlé d'une chose vraie dans le comité exécutif aujourd'hui. Là-bas, c'était le problème de distribution de ressources. Nous, ce n'est pas seulement la création des ressources, mais de retenir nos joueurs ici, de lutter contre l'immigration de nos jeunes, immigration souvent illégale de nos jeunes talents. Avec cette ligue, ils auront des moyens de pouvoir recevoir des salaires décents et rester dans le continent. Donc, il n'y a pas que volet financier ou autre, il y a aussi un volet social très, très important. Donc, c'est ça, c'est fondamental avec la Super Ligue européenne. Merci.
Beaucoup de questions sur ce sujet, Monsieur le Secrétaire général. Peut-être qu'on y reviendra, peut-être, parce qu'on a eu beaucoup de questions là-dessus. Alors, nous allons recevoir Adi El Madani, juste après David Kalfa. Est-ce que Adi El Madani est en ligne? Adi, welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. You hear me now?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Your
Good
question,
evening,
please.
Dr. Mutsebi. I would like to ask, do you have initial expectations about the financial revenue from the Super League?
Very good question. And the discussions that we are having indicate that some of the revenue will indeed be will be not just competitive, but also attractive. And usually in these sort of agreements, particularly in the stage that we are at, where it's preliminary discussions, we are not at liberty to disclose numbers. But I think what my brother Veron said, if we can keep some of the best players to play in Africa because they get paid very well, it's good for the development of African football. And with the Super League and with significant financial resources that should be available, it takes African football to the next level. I know because over the years I had to, before I became president, and I was honored to be working with smart, bright people, we had to compete with some of the best young African footballers who went to play in the Scandinavian countries. Of course, it's difficult to compete with England and Serie A and La Liga and the French league. But I know because some of the players, we would look at their salaries, played in Denmark, played in Norway, played in Sweden, including Belgium. And we could then compete and say, this is what they paid you, and we think we can pay you the same. And many of them would love to stay home because they've got a family. I mean, I love Europe, but it gets cold at times there. So, and I've got very good friends in Europe. But if I can keep them in Africa, wonderful. And even more importantly, raise the quality of football and the attractiveness of African football.
Thank you, sir. Adi? Thank you, Adi. David Kalfa, dites toujours de votre journal d'où vous nous appelez. David Kalfa est juste après Christopher Dobé. David, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My question is related to the Africa Cup of Nations. How the AFCON can be played every 2 years if the FIFA World Cup is organized every 2 years? And does it mean AFCON will soon take place every 4 years?
Well, you'll deal with it. The good work that your committee is doing in relation to the AFCON. I mean, you've got the CHAN every 2 years and you've got AFCON. And of course, the CHAN is for the local Africa-based players.
Yeah, CHAN 2 years. I think that the President Motsepe already talked about the fact that the AFCON would always stay with 2 years. It will take place 2 years. He already confirmed this. And CHAN, of course, starts every 2 years also. Alternatively.
Yeah.
So
you see, what Veron says is important. We will obviously have to look at the totality of our competitions, whether it's CHAN, whether it's, and of course, AFCON, the Africa, our wonderful competition that took place in Cameroon that I attended. So we will have to look at the totality of our competitions, and of course, one of the issues at CAF is the competitions we have now have got legal commitments and legal obligations, and I've said it publicly that in relation to some of those competitions, we should have, we should have obtained more money, because we need more money, we want more money, and we are in good discussions with some of our sponsors because the quality of African football is on the up. But we will look at all of the competitions, whether it's Interclub or whether it's Africa Nations Cup and all of the other competitions, and also look at what happens in Europe. But the Super League will be Africa-based. So it will be having some of the most talented players in Africa playing in Africa. If some of them eventually go to Europe, I think they'll go at a significantly higher price, because they would have already proved themselves. It's like a player going from Belgium to England, or from an established African player going from France, second division, either to the first division of France or other parts of Europe. So we will review the whole suite of competitions that we have with the objective of competitiveness and quality, and making them exciting to watch on TV, as well as we cannot wait to have them at the stadiums.
Thank you, sir. Youssef Debar. Youssef, and then, no, Christopher Dobe, please, first. I'm sorry. Christopher, are you there? Christopher?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Where are you from?
Yeah, welcome. From South Africa.
Welcome.
I'm happy that at least continue. Let me hear your question.
Yeah, you can take them off, Mr. President. I and a few others, I'm going to deviate a little bit. I want to just hear about the women's football, Mr. President. Right now, there is the Champions League that they are going into, and most of them are actually on fundraising drives to try and fulfill these regional qualifiers. And I think there's even a region that is had to postpone a little bit. Where was the women's football part of discussions today? What are you proposing to do to help the women's football? Because even with their qualifiers now, there is a bit of challenges in them, even women, the teams themselves, even trying to get to the qualifiers, just to try to get to the qualifier. What discussions were held, or if any, to help the women's football in Africa, Mr. President? Thank you.
Very, very good question. Very good question. When I was in Miami last week, one of the top women leaders said to me that she played football against the African women, and the African continent has got some exceptional women football players. And one of the most experienced football analysts said to me that it could be that we will have an African World Cup winning football team at the highest level before we have a male one. Of course, we want both. But, COVID-19 hasn't helped, and with all of the challenges, and there's a need. We are all looking creatively, because the transport costs, the salaries, and various other issues relating to developing and promoting women's football requires urgent attention. I saw that in South Africa, they obtained the sponsorship. And I think the private sector should also play a part, because to invest in women's football and to invest in football of the youth and to sponsor football overall in Africa, it makes good business sense. It's good for your brand, for your profile. And it also shows that you are an integral part of the dreams and aspirations of the country where you do business. So we did talk about it, and there's ongoing discussions, and some of the points were raised in terms of how we could assist with the Champions League, with the Women's Champions League that will be starting very soon.
Thank you, Mr. President. He has been waiting for so long. Antoine Grenier, bonjour, bienvenue. And just after, we will be having Adama Halil Diallo.
Bonjour,
Antoine,
Monsieur le Président.
Bonjour, est-ce que vous êtes là?
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Très bien, allez, vous avez la parole.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Bonjour, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général. Vous nous avez dit en début de cette conférence de presse que la CAF soutient l'idée d'une Coupe du Monde tous les 2 ans, dans la perspective d'une Coupe du Monde effectivement organisée tous les 2 ans. Est-ce que ça serait compatible avec le maintien de la CAN tous les 2 ans, ou est-ce qu'elle devrait passer à une organisation tous les 4 ans? Ou alors est-ce que la CAN servirait de qualification pour la phase finale de la Coupe du Monde? Merci.
Yeah. Well, I in my statement, when I had a 10-point action plan, I made it clear that AFCON must be every 2 years, and I that's something that's very, very important. A very good question. I have no doubt that with the issue of whether the World Cup is going to take place every 2 years, it's a matter that's been looked at FIFA, and it has to go through the processes. And at the right time, CAF we will take the right decisions to make, which are aimed at positioning African football in a manner that's good for African football, and making sure that we really have the competitions that people are excited about, and that people want to come and watch, and with good prize money and top players. And if there's a need for a reassessment and a readjustment, we will do that. But I think at this stage, it would be a little bit premature to postulate or to speculate as to what will happen with some of the competitions we currently have.
On va terminer cette rencontre avec la presse avec Adama Halil Diallo. Est-ce qu'il est en ligne? Ce sera la dernière question. Vous pouvez continuer à nous envoyer vos questions. En tout cas, on va les traiter. Adama, are you there? Est-ce que vous êtes là? Adama? Si vous n'êtes pas là, on va prendre rapidement la dernière question.
Je vous entends. Oui.
Vous êtes là?
Oui, je suis là. Je suis bien là. Je vous entends.
Très bien, vous avez la parole. Vous avez la dernière question.
OK. Bonsoir à Monsieur le Président. En tout cas, félicitations encore pour votre élection. Je voudrais simplement revenir sur la Super Ligue africaine. À l'analyse ou au regard de ce qui va se passer, il va sans dire que ce sont des clubs d'élite qui vont participer à cette compétition. Ce qui sous-entendrait que plusieurs équipes africaines ne pourront pas prendre part à cette compétition. Est-ce que ça veut dire que le critère qui est élaboré serait de permettre à tous les clubs africains d'être organisés de manière professionnelle avec un cahier de charges de telle sorte que cette compétition d'élite puisse tirer, en tout cas au sommet, tout le football africain? C'était là ma préoccupation.
Merci.
Adama? Yeah, very good question, Adama. And by definition, the principles that I've outlined of inclusive, the principles of grassroots-driven, the principle of every one of the 54 African countries being part, and having the opportunity to be part of the Super League. And you're correct that at the heart of the Super League will be the best of the best. But what will also be important is it's a league that involves everybody. It's a league that embraces everybody. And it also has to create an avenue for those who may not be part at the beginning to go through a process, because, you know, a football club may be good now, but may not be exceptional. And over time, they do excellent work, and they are amongst the best in the continent. And in that environment, they should be part of the Super League. But I can assure you that we will release the appropriate information and give and answer all of these questions once the Exco has concluded and we've got an agreement. We finalize our agreement with our sponsors. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Merci, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général. Merci à l'équipe de la Fédération royale marocaine de football, l'équipe de communication, pour avoir rendu tout ceci possible. Merci à vous.
Merci.
Thank you.
Merci.
Et à très bientôt.
Merci. Merci.